I'm very fortunate to be joined by Mr. Kevin Groves of the Dover Fringe Festival.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I think it would be a very good thing for you to introduce yourself and the Fringe
Ah,
in Dover so that our audience can learn more about it.
okay. Well, I'm a writer, producer, performer. I've done like a decade of public speaking and last several years branched out into the performing arts. As a solo performer, I've had 3 years at Edinburgh Fringe. Won't be there this year. I'm focusing mostly on radio. And I love to write. There's a Battered Hat production, which is what I use for my radio production, and we've had a good running on BBC Upload the last couple of years. 6 radio plays out. Now, Dover Fringe, this is our second year. Last year, I did it for absolutely no money whatsoever, no funding, but I managed to pull it all together in about a month and for delivery through May.
I know you said you used it initially as a vehicle for your work that you wanted to do at Fringe, but I mean, what is the wider idea of creating Dover Fringe?
Well, we're sat between two very trendy towns at the moment of Deal and Folkestone, and we are a transport hub, 2 main lines, 2 motorways. Everybody should be coming to us and staying to enjoy it. We've got a good creative arts community here. We have a lot of scope for doing amazing things.
And the thing with fringe festivals is they tend to be quite open access, or at least that's what they claim to be. And we know really in Kent, there are many creative pockets here and there, but sometimes it feels like the pockets are somewhat disconnected. And how do you think, something like the Fringe in Dover could act as a conduit for maybe bringing these pockets closer together?
We've sort of begun on that to some extent. We've got 2 fringe festivals in Folkestone. We've got Faversham. We've got a few along North Kent. I'm quite friendly with the Folkestone ones, and I know Ribs at Faversham. So, we're sort of in the same area and we're giving each other help, and a lot of the acts do go between us. So when I think we can have a kind of regular, well, here we are on the map. Come down, visit us all. We're all begging, and well, not begging. We're all hopeful for some kind of regular tour because
Yes.
yeah, it just doesn't come down this far sometimes. Post things stop either at Folkestone, Cliff Hall, or the um, the Canterbury place. Marlow, that's the one.
The Marlow Theatre, right.
We're sort of okay. We've got the Astor in Deal as well, but we do seem quite neglected in East Kent in particular.
Mm. And so you mentioned working with Ribs Norman for the Faversham Fringe. And did you realize that there is also a Medway Fringe?
I recently heard. Well, I joined World Fringe. I caught up with those in Edinburgh Fringe last year, and they have been really helpful because they have a nice map and you put a little pin where your festivals are. And I thought, oh, there's Maidstone and there's Medway. Didn't know about them.
Oftentimes, the biggest issue with organizing events, especially festivals, is money and funding and time and resources and people, etc. Just like everything else, when you're putting on a show, we all know how much it costs, not just in terms of the financial outlay, but in terms of everything else. We put so much into this. And also, when it comes to funding, external funding, that is, we often see festivals competing for the same small pots of funding, right? Or for the same small audiences. What do you think? What is the one thing that you think Kent arts leaders could share with all the events organizers that could make us all maybe more resilient?
That's a tricky one. Like I said, I did last year with no money whatsoever on my own. Again, this year, I did get a little bit of funding, not much, just a few hundred, but that will go more towards the marketing. And that was from a local kind of arts fund. Uh, but with my festival, I knew that was going to be an almost impossibility. Round here, we're quite a deprived area. So, and I want to encourage access. So it had to be free entry, a free festival. I've been involved with PBH Free Fringe, who do a lot of festivals at Edinburgh, and that's who I've done 3 years with. So I'm taking their model and talking very nicely to a lot of venues for free venue use. So, we've got wine bars. I managed to actually snag Maison Dew, the refurbished Maison Dew in Dover, which is
Wow.
like massive.
Gorgeous.
It is an amazing venue, and they're willing to give me for that for free.
Wow. That's totally amazing.
So I struck lucky there. Um, so if I don't have any cost for the performer, then the performer is more accessible, and it's then more accessible for the audience. As there's no profit really, then there's not really any desire to actually give a return on investment because then it's not a monetary return on investment. It's a community getting together, joining together, and supporting all the businesses that are hosting because obviously they'll pay for food and drink and whatever. So it's a different kind of balance. If you've just got to pitch it how you want to. And in my case,
Absolutely.
I want to benefit the community rather than anyone's pocket. Well, my pocket anyway.
I think that's a wonderful and very, well, for want of a better word, noble endeavor. And I think, actually, I mean, this is how our arts
Yeah.
conference began as well, and it still maintains the same ethos to this day. Now, speaking briefly about our conference, so we began in 2013, and every year we coalesce around a particular theme. So this year our theme is starting a conversation, art, starting a conversation. When an audience member leaves one of the shows at your festival to go to a pub with their friends, for example, what is the one conversation you hope they will be starting?
That was fun. I hope they come back again for next year because this is it. Festivals take a number of years to establish, and getting that conversation going is really tough because people don't see things. They don't, Dover's a small town. We're not even a third of our capacity after World War II. We're still not recovered. Yet
Gosh.
there's people up the valley who rarely even come into the town centre because it's a very long, thin town. So getting people moving is a challenge, and communicating events that are on, that is one of the primary gripes in some ways about the in the community, the creative community here is that, well, we didn't know you were on. Yeah, well, we're shouting from about five different places. Can you hear us? So getting that conversation started is a real challenge.
Well, I think that's a conundrum for everyone, regardless of how established you are.
Struggle with theatre, you do Edinburgh Fringe, you get an empty room. Oh my God, what happens? Um, so that's one fear, and the other fear is, well, is it going to cost me much? Well, no, if you've got the venue for free, just give it a go. Open mic nights are a good tester for this. If you could, and we've got a few around, mostly music, obviously, they're mostly our music. I think there are a few poetry ones, but to just get on a stage, do a monologue even, and to encourage it, that's what I want to do. We have a lot of creative people here, a lot of theatre people, and it's just too easy to go to London. And the paths are not gold in London by a long way. From personal bitter experience, no.
Also, there's a lot more competition over there.
Yeah,
So, it's sort of like being in Ed Fringe when you're pounding the pavements in the day, hoping to get a few tickets sold for the night.
yeah.
So,
So coming you well, not just obviously for my festival, but for anybody, engage with the local community, form a poetry night, form a bit of a monologue night, whatever, a scratch night of any kind.
hmm.
Two or three people, just get up and do something. It's terrifying, but you'll find your tribe, and that's where it all starts. Come and visit Dover. Between three fantastic venues in Dover, come and visit for theatre, comedy, music, poetry, and a wide range of shows for everyone at Dover Fringe Festival.